Hello students, I am Rajiv Jha and this is my sixth video on question and answer on electrical machine. In this video you have learned two reactions theory of synchronous generator and a wonderful concept of drawing phasor diagram of salient pole synchronous generator also. So hope you will like this video. So let's begin. So this is two reactions theory. Here we start. So you see here this is the cylindrical type synchronous machine and here you see salient pole type synchronous machine. In cylindrical type synchronous machine we see this one is stator, okay, and here you see this is the rotor, okay. So between of stator and rotor there is a gap. Actually this gap is uniform, okay, so that's why it is called the uniform air gap. So in cylindrical type synchronous machine we have uniform air gap, and here you see in salient pole synchronous machine, here you see this is the rotor and this one is stator, okay. So in between of stator and rotor we see here the gap is small and here the gap is large. So the air gap is non-uniform in salient pole synchronous machine. From this figure you understand this. So this is called non-uniform, so your non-uniform air gap. Actually we will study why it is so, why this non-uniform occurred, and what is the impact on you can say EMF, impact on armature reaction, and all of these phenomena will be discussed in my further or upcoming slides, okay. So here we study first two reaction theory. So what is the main difference between these two structures, salient pole synchronous machine and cylindrical type synchronous machine? So this is the actually rotor type, and main difference of these type of rotor is their air gap width, okay, as we discussed earlier. The second one thing is due to non-uniform air gap, as we see here the non-uniform air gap occurred, okay. Here gap is less, here gap is large. So due to this it is called non-uniform air gap. Why we don't talk about leakage reactance? Okay, actually we know in every case if we talk about the armature air gap, in my video gap we increase, if the air gap is increases so the reluctance is increases, so we directly connected that reluctance to the armature reaction. So why we do not talk about the leakage reactance? Okay, so in this slide we will discuss actually, because this is the important one, why we not choose, why we not talk about, or how the air gap is not affected the leakage reactance, okay. That is the, if you know about or leakage flux. So here you see actually this one is the, you can say, stator, okay, this one is rotor, okay. I cut the stator, so here you like this. Actually here you see there is a conductor, okay. So what happened first, this conductor, because it is a north pole, so the flux is going from the north to the rotor actually, and this one is air gap, okay. So either air gap is uniform or air gap is non-uniform, it doesn't matter in case of the leakage reactance. Why? Because leakage reactance is just like a leakage flux, okay. So as we know, leakage flux is stator flux which is close to itself. That means the same thing we talk about. Here you see, if the flux, a flux which is come to close to itself, okay, that is called the leakage flux. Here it is they choose the path and they close to itself. So here stator flux a stator flux with this stator flux going to interact with rotor actually, and this stator flux close to itself. Okay, so this is called the leakage flux, we know. So you see, leakage flux is not interacted with any you can say rotor flux, or interacted with any air gap flux. Okay, so that's why if the air gap is increased or decreased, there is no any, you can say, impact on leakage flux. So we can say there is no any impact on leakage reactance. That's why leakage reactance is independent to the movement, any movement with air gap. Okay, so that's why we if we talk about the leakage, air gap is increase or air gap will decrease, we only talk then after the result, or we only talk about the relationship between the uh, air gap and the armature reaction actually. We do not talk about the leakage reactance at the time. So that is the important one. So I think we will have to discuss. Okay, and then next one is, so that is the way, because why we don't talk about the leakage reactance, because leakage reactance is independent with air gap. So you know the answer. Okay, so next is, this is the, you can say, I have seen here, you have seen the armature reaction. So armature reaction is inversely proportional to air gap, we know already. Here you, I just give you how the armature reaction is inversely proportional to air gap. I will tell you. Air gap means the distance. Okay, air gap is called, if the air gap is high, then we can say reluctance is high. Okay, or you can say if air gap is increases somewhere, here you see in q axis. Okay, you see in q axis air gap is large, in d axis air gap is small. So here we talk about, if air gap is high, then reluctance is high. If reluctance is high, then we can say phi equal to mmf divided by reluctance. So reluctance is large or high, the flux should be low. So this flux is called armature flux, because mmf equal to n into ia, the armature current. So armature current produces the armature flux, armature mmf. So this armature mmf is proportional to armature flux. So armature flux reduces, that means the impact, what is armature reaction? Impact of armature flux on main field flux. Okay, so if armature flux is reduces, that means armature reaction is also reduces. Okay, and that's why from this way we know, if the air gap is increases, so the armature reaction is decreases. Okay, that is a simple way we can learn. So next is, leakage reactance is independent with rotor condition or air gap. We discussed already. Leakage reactance is independent with rotor condition. Whatever the condition is over, either it is rotor is cylindrical type or rotor is salient type. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't you can say change the value of leakage reactance, because leakage reactance depends on leakage flux, and leakage flux is the flux, stator flux, that close to itself. So it doesn't interact with air gap. Okay, so that's why this is happen actually. So the next is, okay, what do you mean by two reactions theory? So now we talk about two reaction. What is two reaction actually? So two reaction theory means two axis symmetricity for salient pole type synchronous machine. That means two reactions theory tells that single axis symmetry is not there for the case of salient pole type synchronous machine. Okay, that is the, you can, the simple thing we can describe actually. Two reactions theory tells that single axis symmetry is not there for the case of salient pole type synchronous machine. So what is the single axis symmetry? Single axis symmetry, that means in cylindrical type of synchronous motor we have seen there is a single type of symmetricity. Here you have to use two axis actually. Okay, because in this case you have to use the two axis, d axis and q axis. This is the d axis and this is the q axis. So what is d axis, what is q axis, how we define the d axis, how we define the q axis, we will tell you in my next slide actually. So what is d axis? D axis is the axis in which flux is coming out from the rotor, or the axis of main field flux is called the main field flux is called the d axis. This one is called the d axis actually. Whatever the rotor magnetic field direction, that position of rotor magnetic field is called the d axis. Okay, always it's called the d axis. And what is q axis? So we will see. Axis which is quadrature of d axis is called the q axis. That means axis which is quadrature, that means makes a 90-degree actually, with the d axis is called the q axis. And you know, as we discussed earlier, always we have you can say always emf is generated or emf is induced in the q axis. Okay, on the q axis, or in the, yeah, we can say on the q axis or in phase with q axis. Okay, so here axis which is quadrature of d axis is called the q axis, and emf is always induced in the q axis. Okay, and mmf flux, or you can say the main field flux, is always in the direction of d axis. Okay, next one is armature current. Okay, if we talk about here we see actually this one is called d axis, this one is called q axis, and now we talk about the armature current. Okay, so this one is called the armature current. So it makes actually, we here we assume that armature current is lagging type. Okay, and there is an angle between of internal angle between of ef and I naught, that is represented by xi. Okay, so here armature current resolve into d axis and q axis. We see how it is dissolve, or you can say how it is uh, you can say how it is break into the two component. Okay, so here you see this one is the id. Okay, here you see this one is the id, this one is id, and this one is iq. So in q axis the current is called the iq. Okay, q axis current, armature current, and in d axis its component is id. So here we see id which produces the some because we know mmf equal to n into ia. So in case of id we will get mmf, mmf equal to magnetomotive force equal to n into id. Okay, so here whatever the magnetic mmf produce, or whatever the flux produce, that always in case of the lagging power factor, that always reason for the demagnetization effect actually. Okay, so here you see this flux is always opposes the main field flux, so it is always demagnetization in case of the lagging power factor. Okay, in case of the leading power factor it is magnetization. Okay, it comes the current is in the phase with phi m actually. So here we get the phi a d. So this one is the case of magnetization. So here you see, so magnetization, this is the case of magnetization. But we have we just noted down iq is always give the same impact, that is cross magnetization impact, always. Because either we give a lagging power factor load or we give a leading power factor load, in any case IQ, that means the Q axis current is always give a cross magnetization impact on rotor field, or you can say the on cross magnetization impact on uh, air gap flux, okay, or resultant flux. So we, this one is important point, and we will have to note it down. Uh, because there is a lots of question in numerical also. We will see using this concept actually sometime, okay. So it is a very important question point actually. So after that, so we know we have a two mmf in d axis we have a mmf of d axis, and in q axis we have a mmf of q axis. So because of this, there is a reactance also. Actually what is there is a voltage drop, or you can say uh, because of in we have a different mmf, so we have a different voltage. So there is a voltage drop also. So voltage drop is due to the synchronous impedance, okay. Voltage drop is due to the synchronous impedance. So in d axis, if you talk about d axis, so in d axis, z as synchronous impedance, which is approximately equal to synchronous reactance, is approximately equal to synchronous armature reaction reactance is equal, okay. So it is approximately equal. So in case of xd, you see, in case of xd, we can say the armature reaction or armature reaction reactance is equal to xad plus leakage reactance, whatever the leakage reactance it is, okay. Here you see, so here we get the 2 point, we get the two reactants in d axis. At d axis we will get the xd, okay. In q axis we get the xq. So this one is the armature react in d axis there is a synchronous reactance at d axis and synchronous reactance at q axis. Both have the phenomena of armature current. Actually armature current in q axis, whatever the impact is coming through this armature current, is the reason to generate the synchronous impedance, synchronous reactance on q axis. So it is called the xq. Xd is same phenomena due to the armature current, which is a component on which is in which armature current which have a component of id in the d axis. Due to this, the reactance is causes. So we know that reactance is called the xt, synchronous direct axis reactance, and this is called the quadrature axis reactance. So what is the value of direct axis reactance and quadrature axis reactance? So from this formula you see direct axis reactance equal to direct axis armature reactance plus leakage reactance. So here we include the leakage reactance, okay. You know leakage reactance doesn't impact on any it doesn't matter either it is air gap large or small. So the value of xl is similar in both the cases, either xd if I calculated the xd or if I calculated the xq. So xd equal to xad plus xl, and then second one is xq equal to xad xaq plus xl. Xaq is the armature reaction reactance in q axis and q axis, and the xad equal to armature reaction reactance at t axis. So this is the reactance. So what is xad and what is xaq? So xad is due to the armature reaction, which is uh, you can say due to iad, or you can say id, there is a armature reaction occurred, okay. So that armature reaction is the reason for xad, production of xad. Xaq, for xiaq or iq, for iq or with iq, if we get whatever we get the armature reaction or impact of armature reaction, the value of armature reaction is called the is the main reason to generate the xaq or to give the value of, to calculate the value of XAQ. So XAQ or XAD is the main phenomena of armature reaction. This is the armature reaction reactance. So this is come from armature reaction. Armature reaction, you know, the is uh, depend on the armature current, or d axis current armature current, or q axis armature current. So from this way we can calculate the XAD and XAQ. Okay, so one thing we will have to clear, the value of XD is greater than value of XQ actually. Why it is so? Because we know in d axis the air gap is small, in q axis the air gap is large. So if the air gap is small, we know, though we know armature reaction is inversely proportional to air gap. Okay, so air gap is small, that means armature reaction is large. So armature reaction is large, that means armature reaction reactance is large. XAD is large. Okay, so XAD is large, that means what happened when XAD is large, so XD is large. So through this way we can say XD is larger than XQ. Okay, I repeat again, in case of XQ. So in case of XQ, you see reluctance is large. So yeah, air gap is large. So that means reluctance is large. Reluctance is large means reluctance or air gap is directly proportional to, air gap is directly proportional to 1 upon what we say armature reaction. So air gap reluctance is large. So flux equal to mmf upon reluctance. So reluctance is large, that means armature flux is small. So in that case armature reaction is small. So armature reaction is small. So here we see if the air gap is large, armature reaction is small. So it is inversely proportional to armature reaction. Okay, armature air gap is directly proportional to, or inversely proportional to armature reaction. So here we see if air gap is large, armature reaction is small. If air gap is small, armature reaction is large, and armature reaction is directly proportional to armature reaction reactance. Okay, we already know this. So in d axis we have small air gap, that means we have a large armature reaction, that means we have a large armature reaction reactance. So that's why XD is greater than XQ. Okay, okay. So in practical we see XD is approximately 1.5 to 2 times of XA, also XQ. Okay, so our next slide is, so here I think I have completed this portion. The next portion is phasor diagram. How we draw the phasor diagram? So in phasor diagram we will have to first of all we will have to tell our main goal is to draw the EMF of the alternator. Okay, so EMF should be, and second one is second one thing you will have to you can say you will have to make your mind that EMF is always lie on the Q axis. Okay, that is the, you can say, initial condition you should have to know. Then second one is EMF should be lagging with the main field flux, you know already. Okay, if this is the main field flux, so this one should be the EMF actually. Yes, so here you see this is the current actually, and this is the lagging power factor load. Okay, you have seen this, it is a lagging power factor load because IA is lagging with V. So the angle between of the power factor angle between of V and IA is phi. Okay. Yeah. So in this case, as we know, this is the this is the structure of salient pole. So we will have to derive what is the, where is the d axis and where is the q axis. So we decompose the IA into two part, ID and IA. Okay, IQ, sorry, ID and IQ. Yeah, this one IQ. So here we see I, here is, this one is ID and this one is IQ. So here we decompose IA into two part, and IQ is get in the Q axis and ID will get, or ID get in D axis. Okay, why it is D axis actually? Because I told you actually this is D axis because it is in the same phase as the axis of main field flux. Okay, this is the same axis at the axis of main field flux. Okay, this is the axis of main field flux, so the same axis will refer, so that's why it is ID, and in quadrature of this it is IQ. So that's why it is ID and it is IQ. So the next one is I what I do actually, there is a from yeah, here you see, we will have to see, this is the equation that I use to develop the EMF. Okay, so we want EMF, so we do the phasor sum of V plus IARA plus IDXD plus IQXQ. From this way we will get a phasor. If I do the phasor sum, then we will get a EMF E. Okay, so here our first step is V plus IDRA. So here we see, from V we see ID. What is ID? Where is ID actually? Here is ID. So in parallel with ID, we will draw IDRD, or we can say the D axis resistive drop, voltage drop. We draw here. Okay. Then second one is, yes, IQRA. Okay. You see here IQRA, V plus IQRA plus IDRA. So here we see IDRA. Okay. Then second one is IQRA. So this one is IQRA. IQ. So in parallel with IQ, we draw a voltage drop IQRA. Okay, resistive drop actually. Okay. Then the next step is what we do. Yes. So we can also see IDRD or IQRA. In short, we can say it is IARA. So here IARA is all, you see here actually IARA, the line of IARA and the line of IA is parallel to each other. Okay, so here we say we calculate V plus IARA. Okay, the next one is, yes, the next one is IDXD. So why IDXD is go towards upside actually? Because IDXD, so first we will have to find out where is ID. So where is ID? Where is this one is ID? So it is, you can say the voltage drop of ID, the voltage drop of IDXD. Okay, the voltage IDXD actually is leading with the current ID. Yes, it is leading because it is it is a inductive reactance actually. So that's why it is leading. Okay, the voltage is leading. Either we say, either we say current is lagging with comparison to voltage, or we say if current is here, or we say voltage is leading. That is the same thing, na? The same thing actually. Either we say volt current is lagging, okay, or we say voltage is leading. Both are the same thing. So here we see IDXD is leading with ID actually. So that why it make an angle of 90 degree with IDRD. With IDRD it makes an angle of 90 degree, or we can say it is make angle with ID at a 90 degree angle actually. Okay, so the next is, yes, you will get IQXQ. So IQXQ, here you see again IQ is the, here you get the IQ value. So from this way IQXQ is the leading actually. Okay, So iq xq is leading with iq because it is a inductive property, inductive load we are talking about. Okay, so that's why we will get, so we increase iq xq till the dx is achieved. So this one is called the d-axis. When this line cut the d-axis, that point is called the emf. Okay, see, because I told you we will get emf in, we will always get an emf in q axis. Okay, so next is, you see, here we get the emf. Okay, this one is called the emf. So from this way we learn the emf. So this is the angle is called the internal power factor angle. Actually this angle is called the internal power factor angle. Okay, this angle is called the internal power factor angle. Okay, and yes, and this one, this angle from the angle between v, that means terminal voltage, and the you can say emf, the angle between terminal voltage and generated emf value, the angle between generated emf and terminal voltage is called the del, is the load angle. Okay, it's called the load angle. ठीक. Okay, now we calculate, actually in previous case we uh, because in every question, in every calculation we do not make phasor calculation or phasor sum, because phasor sum is not a easy task. So that's why we will have to make some scalar sum also through this phasor sum. Okay, so here we make a scalar how we calculate the emf without using of uh, phasor phasor sum actually. Okay, so we will get emf by adding of idxd and by adding of idsd, iqra, and third one is v cos del. Okay, this is the v there, v cos del, id, iqrd, iqr yeah, iqrd, rq, iqra, sorry, I didn't see actually. Yes, v cos del, v cos del, iqra, idxd. From this way we can say we will get a e value of emf without any phasor sum or without any phasor diagram. You can directly if you have a del, you can say the load angle, if you know the value of id, then id xd or iq array, generally iq array is neglecting all the time for the calculation purpose, because the value of array is almost 0.1 per unit actually. So that's why I neglected it. So if you have id xd, the value of xd and value of id, or you have a value of del, you will calculate the value of emf, okay, without using this phasor diagram. Okay, so this is from this way you will get the benefit, and you quickly get the answer actually. Okay, and there one thing we have observed here, the observation is coming. So through this you can say equation, you have seen one thing, this is called, here you see, actually this is plus, here see plus, and second one is minus actually. Okay, so plus is for the lagging power factor load and minus is for the leading power factor load. Okay, my observation is, here you see the xt for the emf, you can say if you want to get a emf, so emf is not there is no impact of xq on emf. That mean uh, whatever we get reactance in the q axis, or whatever we get the reactance on the q axis, so it doesn't makes any impact on emf actually. Here you see we do not have any xq terms over here. So that is the important thing. Actually there's a lots of question in IAS or GATE. They talk about they change the value of xq two times, or they change the value of xq in three times. So they know what is the impact of EMF. So in that case you directly give the answer, okay, there is no impact actually, because E equal to V cos del plus minus IA xd plus IA IQ RA. So it doesn't, E does not depends on the value of xq right now. So that's why through this way you can give a lot of conceptual answer through this, you can say, through this fact. Okay, so at the last, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you like this video.